Hello, my name is James. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The mid-season premiere of Manifest kicks off with a quick refresher from the first half of this season. Michaela visits her mother's grave where she tearfully walks through everything that has happened. With so many dangling plot threads, this is such a smart way to make a recap have emotional meaning. Thankfully, Crosswinds picks up almost immediately after the mid-season finale last month. It looks like the Stone family drama is going to die down anytime soon. Ben has officially moved out and into his sister's new apartment. However, he's going crazy staring at his conspiracy board. It's been 10 days without any callings, and the Stone siblings are hoping they can put this all behind them soon. To hunt down some new leads, Ben heads to Vance's funeral to pay his respects and look for murder suspects. Naturally, this doesn't go over well. Vance's deputy at the NSA, Powell, isn't thrilled to see Ben there and blames him for the death. Luckily, an investigative journalist named Aaron is on the scene who quickly notices the interaction. He quickly approaches Ben with the hope of getting a new story. While Ben is initially hesitant, the reporter does have some compelling information. A mysterious major arrived on scene at the warehouse on the same day. Manifest seemed to set up Fiona Clark as an antagonist in the mid-season finale, and the show asks that question tonight. Fiona did actually take all of the survivors to an isolated house where she takes care of them alongside Sanvi. In Crosswinds, the group rescued from the warehouse are barely functioning but do have a shared movement. With no idea what's causing it, Sanvi decides to call in all of the other passengers. When Michaela gets there, she touches a man named Paul and gets transported to a snowstorm with a voice asking to find her. She's taken aback by the new form of calling, especially when Paul shakes out of his funk. However, he doesn't remember anything, much less having a wife. The other passengers gather around and are thankful someone is looking into the flight. None of the others seem to be suffering from these shared bonds or callings. At least Bethany gets to return, so we know she's not rotting in an underground prison somewhere. She also introduces a cult which worships the passengers. The pilot also shows back up, where he expresses some concerns to Ben over Fiona's loyalty. As many fans have pointed out, she could have orchestrated the whole flight as an experiment. When he storms off, it's revealed Autumn Cox is listening in. For those who have forgotten, she's the mole this mysterious government organization planted to keep tabs on Ben. However, she's been ducking his texts, and we have to wonder how loyal she is to them. She speaks with Ben and reveals this major is actually a woman searching for something called the Holy Grail. Things begin lining up as Ben listens to Aaron's podcast. The reporter also mentions this grail, which sends Ben rushing to his recording studio. While he won't give up his source's name, he does discuss what he knows about the grail. Apparently, the Senate met after Flight 828 and began setting millions of dollars aside to preserve a fish called the Phantom Shiner. However, that species had been missing for decades, which seemed weird. However, the reporter's source claimed to overhear a conversation saying, "It's the Holy Grail. We have to be the first or 828 blows up in our face." How deep does this conspiracy go? Jared returns to duty and immediately joins Michaela on her new calling. She initially just makes it seem like she's just looking for Paul's wife, Helen, as a favor. However, he guesses pretty quickly that this is a calling. Michaela makes him stay at their house to search while she talks to Paul. Considering he almost died, it's not a huge shock she would keep him at arm's length. As she leaves, the calling takes over again. Ben is worried, but Michaela thinks the blizzard and cold are more important than the message. Jared does actually make progress on his own and tracks down Helen at a motel. She pulls a gun on Michaela and Jared immediately. Turns out, Paul was extremely abusive and his disappearance was a blessing in disguise. She just assumed he had hired 2 cops to murder her upon his return. Michaela promises she's safe because Paul doesn't remember anything. This definitely makes completely the calling difficult. Ben is on his own mission since he joined sides with Aaron. He kind of secures a meeting with Vance's deputy by ambushing him at a coffee shop. Pleading with Powell, he wants the information about who flew the helicopter into the warehouse. Ben then rushes home for some family issues. Olive had invited Danny, which caused a big fight with Grace. Naturally, Ben isn't all that happy to find Danny there. Grace ultimately tells both of them to leave because she can't keep fighting and being the bad guy. Ben decides it's best if he goes, and he goes to cry in his car. He gets distracted quickly by Vance's deputy, who did search for the mysterious Major. While he couldn't get a name, he does confirm someone used it as a private VIP transport. Powell agrees to work alongside Ben to bring justice to Vance. However, he does warn him to keep an eye out because this Major is heading to New York City. He finds Aaron and records an insurance tape which will implicate the Major if something happens to his family. At least Ben has a new ally in this fight because Powell gets abducted pretty quickly. Michaela, still struggling from her conversation with Helen, blows up at Paul. She tells him they aren't the victims here but the people who got left behind. They came crashing back into their lives after everyone else had moved on. She's disgusted by his abusive behavior and Sanvi has to drag her from the room. It's heartbreaking to see Michaela begin to believe she's just a burden on everyone else. Jared isn't about to let her pull away though. He comes to her apartment and declares his love for her before they sleep together. His speech about her being his soulmate is exactly the kind of emotional drama we want to see between passengers and their loved ones. It's complicated and messy but understandable. However, it does makes us wonder what's going to happen with Lourdes now that Jared seems ready to get back together with Michaela. Things are going to get a lot more complicated for the Stone family because it turns out Michaela's callings belong to someone else. She's seeing and hearing things through their eyes though. What's worse is the Major is looking for people who are more attuned to the callings. Sanvi informs the group this would be Cal, who sees the blizzard calling as well. He's freezing and looking at a picture of Michaela. While Manifest makes it clear Cal is definitely the most connected, it seems like everyone else is ruling out Michaela too quickly. She seems to be getting more in tune with the callings as each episode goes on. Not to mention, she also experienced the blizzard, although not the hand freezing, throughout Crosswinds. We could see her sacrificing herself to the Major if it means keeping Cal safe later on this season. Overall, this was a fun episode to jump back into. While Ben's family stuff still feels like the least interesting part of the show, it wasn't as grating as some previous scenes. However, it does feel like Sanvi hasn't had that much to do recently. With Manifest's large cast, we have to wonder if someone will be dying this season. Especially when new supporting members, Autumn and Adrian, look like they could be heading down a dark path. The Major forces Autumn to take the phone she had originally discarded back while Adrian embraces the cult of Flight 828 worshippers. Who do you think the Major is? Is it someone we've already met? Be sure to tell us your Manifest theories in the comments section below.